you maggots, listen up. I recapped the radio and checked the resistors and went through it section by section. I realized I have a problem. The oscillator, the main oscillator, only works on the two lowest bands. The higher bands, it won't work. So I've sent for a new tube. It's an old Lochtel type tube. It's original to the radio. And tubes, when they lose their gain, they don't like to oscillate at higher frequencies, because I've checked that section several times. Now, this radio has a triple tune front end. Here, here, and here. And there's two tubes on the front end, which gives it good sensitivity. And I could only get one station on it after I recapped it. And I did all kinds of tests, and each section showed good. And even my beeper went through the section. I'm like, what is going on? So just before bedtime, I realized, I said, you know what? Let me put the antenna 2 stages back instead of 3, because all 3 stages have to be perfectly tuned in order for the signal to pass. So I did that, and I got, instead of 1 station, I got like 10 stations, but they're real low. So I knew, then I moved the antenna back to would be the 1st stage, and it didn't get any better. So I went to bed, and I didn't sleep well. Kept running it through my head. I took this all apart again, thinking maybe I did something wrong. And then finally, I sent a signal through the radio, and I realized the signal coming through here from the signal generator was real strong here, but nothing over in here or after here. So I'm thinking, all right, let me just touch up the trimmer cap. Let's see if they're in frame. Okay, there's three trimmers. Each section has a trimmer. And I turned one. All of a sudden, the one station I was getting started to get a little stronger. And then I moved the antenna, and then I did these 2, and it got real strong. And then I went back and redid this one. All right, then I realized every single trimmer cap on this radio has been turned in all the way in as tight as it'll go. Every single one of them that they could. Every trim cap on this radio is bodged, and so are some of the coils. So the person was playing make-believe with this radio, and this is the radio I showed you on the last video about this. The person sprayed the selector switch for that would make the radio more narrow. That's all black yet. I got it, doing wide and narrow, and it still needs more work. But this radio is very tough. Getting the capacitors, I showed you the ones up in here. They have to take it apart to get those 2 back there. These 2, get your cutters down there, cut them off the ground. Put your wire on here on the capacitor, and then solder the ground wire to the chassis. You're going to need a hotter iron, and that's what I did, rather than try to get all the way back behind there. So they would be the 4 hardest capacitors. You can cheat here, and then those you have to take it apart to get at those capacitors. I told you there's people that rebuild this radio, and they don't change the capacitors that they don't change the ones they can't get to. And that's the ones that are most valuable. They're really hiding down in there. And over here you can see I put terminals in, and I have separate capacitors on the terminals instead of using one of those multi-capacitor ones. So I'm waiting on the tube, and I want to show you update. But these videos that I do on radios, step by step, as I go through the radio, what I find, trying to tell you what to watch out for. But this Hellcrafters SX42, I want to see some of those other guys work on one of these. These things are tough. But like I said, somebody played make-believe with this. And, I always say stuff how stupid people are. And they play make-believe. And I get very bad press from that, as I'll call it press. People say, you're mean. You're like a drill sergeant. That's why at the beginning of my videos, I don't know if I remember doing it. All right, maggots, listen up. That's to mock him. When you want to teach people something, you want them to pay attention. But basically, people think they know. And the smarter people are afraid of things because they know how difficult it be. But what is it? A wise man doesn't tread where a fool will follow, or whatever. There's a good saying that, in other words, really smart people overthink stuff. And sometimes if you overthink too much, you don't do that well in life because you're afraid of making a mistake. While the stupid people, it doesn't bother them. But I just want to throw that in there. But somebody tightened up every one of these trim caps in the radio, which messes my alignment up. The alignment can really only be done after the tuning dials are in position. This thing's, I won't say it's really hard to do alignment. Oh, and the person also messed up the IF cans. Now, on the top of the IF cans, there's two threaded rods. One is FM, one is AM. The corresponding second one is underneath. So, yeah, they played with the IF can thing. So after I got more stations, I went in and I put my signal through for 455, and it was way off. They touched those too. See, what you do with a radio is you buy it, and then you spray it with the magic spray. And then if any screws are loose, you tighten them down. And then if any of those posts from the IF cans are sticking up too far, you screw them all the way down. I think that's it. All right, that's it.